Hey guys, so the activity that you're going to be completing this whole week is kind of going to be a little bit more than a week-long project, and it's going to actually have to do with the Super Bowl game that is on February 7th, okay? So some of you may have heard about the Super Bowl, some of you may not have, but the Super Bowl is a huge football game that happens in the U.S., and the Kansas City Chiefs are playing this year versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to do a couple different math activities that then lead us to creating our own fantasy team. Pretty much having the best players on your team is what you guys are trying to do, okay? And we're going to lead throughout the entire week to get to you guys making the best team that you guys can possibly make, all right? So how this is working is in your weekly planner, it's going to give you exactly which day we're on. So obviously this is our first day, so we're on day one in the fantasy football project. So it says to check out the rubric, which is in Google Classroom. So if you go into Google Classroom and you go to classwork, you should see this Google Slides slideshow here. And once you click on that, it'll bring you to pretty much your lifeline and the instructions that you're going to need for the next pretty much 2 weeks, okay? So this will be a week-long project, a little over a week, and it's going to be due by Thursday, 2/11. Each due date is a reference for you to use as a guide, so you guys will see that as you go along. I don't want you to submit anything until the entire project is completed, though, okay? So not until the very end are you going to hit done in Google Classroom, okay? So there's steps listed out by days. So each day you're expected to be doing something, and it's kind of like the to-do list that we have in the planner anyway. If you follow each day's instructions, you'll be able to complete the project in a timely manner. Remember, you're going to be working with a partner. So all the members in the group or both members in the group should be completing an equal amount of work, and you should be working together on it. So here's some resources that you guys are going to see as you're going through the days, and the days are going to tell you exactly which resource you're going to need that day. So for day one, pretty much all you need to do is make sure you watch this Ed puzzle, and then after you watch the Ed puzzle, if you still have questions, then you really need to email me. You're more than welcome to look through each of these days. However, I won't be posting this stuff until we're going to start it on that day, okay? So you guys won't see the Cami assignment until day 2 when I post it onto Google Classroom, because I don't really want you jumping ahead. I want to make sure we're all kind of on the same page and making sure that we're all understanding what needs to be done. So this is kind of a tutorial to make sure we know what we need to get done, and kind of a vocabulary session too. So when it comes to the Cami assignment, that's going to be your guys' first part of the assignment, okay? So you're going to read this whole bit, and it's going to tell you a little bit about fantasy football. Fantasy football is where a lot of people come together, friends usually, and they try to create the best football team that they can. And when they create the best football team that they can get points. And the amount of points decides who wins in the fantasy football league, okay? We're not going to be doing a whole league. We're just going to be doing something for the game this weekend, okay? There's only 2 teams left, and we get to pick from these 2 teams. So the first part is, it says, let's look at an example with the quarterback scoring. These are all the different ways that a quarterback could score or receive points, okay? So TD stands for touchdown. So where it says right here, right there, TD, that's a touchdown, okay? And a touchdown, whether it's a pass or whether it says rush, when it says rushing, that means they're running, okay? So think of rushing as running. And then receiving is catching, okay? So if they have a TD pass, that means throwing the ball to somebody, then they can get 6 points. If they have a touchdown rush, that means they're running into the end zone, then they could get 6 points. Or if they have a reception, which usually quarterbacks are on the throwing end, not the catching end, okay? But they could have 6 points there. So how this works is every 25 passing yards, it equals 1 point, okay? So you can't get a point until your quarterback throws at least 25 yards, okay? And then obviously if they throw 50 yards, you would receive 2 points. And then if you got 100 yards, you would receive 4 points, okay? So you can start figuring out how to make that equation there. An interception is when the quarterback throws it to the other team and the other team catches it. So we don't like interceptions, obviously. We don't want our team to give the ball to the other team. Rushing, like we were just talking about, that's running. Okay, so in any sense, that's running. If the quarterback runs 10 yards, then he gets a point. If the quarterback were to not be the thrower in some circumstances, then they would, the receiving yards would be considered them catching it, okay? All right, so you guys are going to go through a couple of these problems. Like I said, you can look back at this video, or you can just ask me, hey, what does this mean again? Remember, rushing always means running. It's on the ground, okay? We're running. And then obviously passing is in the air because the ball is being thrown in the air. So that's how a quarterback works. Once again, if you guys have any questions, you need to ask me because that's the only way you're going to learn. For number 3, it says that it's going to have you write a formula. That pretty much means write an equation, okay? So you guys are making your own equations based on what you've just done, okay? Continuing down, you have a wide receiver, also known as like a WR, okay? Wide receiver, WR, or a tight end, TE. You'll see that also. And they usually catch the ball, okay? So you can get a reception, like we just talked about. A reception is usually when they catch it. So if they make 5 receptions, you would need to see how many points they would get. 1 reception equals 0.2 points, and we know how to work with decimals. And then the amount of yards that they have, the amount of receiving yards counts for 0.1 of a point. If they get a touchdown, that's 6 points. And then a fumble is when you drop the ball. So you don't want to fumble. You don't want to drop the ball. That's why it's -2. That means they would lose some points. And you guys are going to create an equation for this as well. Then we jump down to running back finally. Running back, I think we can guess what that means. Running back means you are running, okay? So you could be catching the ball, or you could be on the ground running, or like we said, running is just like rushing. And then you guys are going to come down here, and I have a different table for you. I don't want you guys to fill out this table, but we'll keep talking about this. This is more of a day 4 type thing, and you guys are going to create your own teams. So like it says, you would pick a quarterback, you'd pick 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and then 1 tight end. And you would put those players in the table that I'm going to provide for you guys. And then lastly, the 13th question is for you guys to create your own equation to decide how many points the defense should receive. So remember, you have to think about if the defense catches the ball from the offense, that's a good thing for the defense, okay? That means their team now has a chance to get a touchdown. Or if they sack the quarterback, when you sack the quarterback, that means that you were able to get the quarterback down and he wasn't able to throw it or get any points. Or you also need to think about how many touchdowns do you let up. That's another important key to think about when you're creating your equation. Don't worry, I'm not leaving you guys completely alone. I made an entire example, okay? So obviously you guys are going to answer questions 1 through 11. You can use a calculator, okay? You can definitely use a calculator. But questions 1 through 11 are kind of just like answering word problems. When it comes to the part where you need to do a fantasy team Google Forms, that means that you're picking the quarterback, and then you need to provide a reason supported by data as to why you chose this quarterback. So my response had to go with my example that I'm giving you guys from the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens game. Okay, so obviously these 2 teams are not part of the Chiefs Buccaneers Super Bowl. But my example, my reasoning was I chose this quarterback because according to the last game he had over 200 passing yards. When I compare it to the other quarterback, my quarterback threw the ball more. Although the other quarterback had 1 more touchdown than the quarterback that I picked, I noticed that my quarterback also ran the ball further than the other quarterback. And that's why I decided to choose. In this case, I chose Josh Allen. Okay? And he gave me 14.5 fantasy points after doing all the conversions. And then I actually have the score for the game so you guys can see how I ended up doing my defense scoring along with the equation that I decided to choose for the defense. Like I said, this is you guys choosing the equation and then creating a reasoning for that equation. All right. Now when we look at the stats, okay, this is like statistics. Stats is like statistics. This is kind of like looking at data, okay? So according to here, we have Patrick Mahomes, who is the Kansas City quarterback. He had 299 passing yards compared to Chad Henne, who's also a Kansas City quarterback. He only had 78. And then Tom Brady only had 286 passing yards. Okay, so you have to choose your quarterback based on that. But you also need to think, okay, which quarterback had an interception? Because interceptions are not good. And you also need to look at how many touchdowns that these quarterbacks had. Chad Henne had no touchdowns. However, Patrick Mahomes had 2 and Tom Brady had 2. All right, so that's a lot where you need to think about which person is going to give you more points. And then you're going to pick 2 running backs, and you're going to look at all of the information that they have, say for Darrell Williams, okay? And you're going to look at that information, and you're going to decide which 2 running backs you would rather choose. And you would pick 2 from the data that's given. And of course, like I said, you need to provide your reasoning using this data. You pick 2 wide receivers, okay? Wide receivers, like I said, that means WR. And you would pick 2 of these guys, see which one would give you more points. If you really wanted to, you could just plug in their numbers right into the equation that you guys would have already made for questions 1 through 11. Okay, and that'll tell you exactly how many points that they would have received in this game and kind of give you an idea of, okay, this person had more points than another wide receiver. Then there's 3 tight ends to choose from. You can only pick 1. And then obviously you can only pick 1 defense, okay? And when we think about the defense, for the defense, having an interception is a good thing. Having an interception or a fumble is a good thing for the defense because that means that they were able to get the ball back. Having a sack for the defense is a good thing because that means they were able to get the ball back. So, with all of that being said, once again, this quarterback could be looked at as QB, running back as RB, wide receiver as WR, tight end as TE, and defense might just be D. Okay? And you have all of this rubric and instructions to take you step by step on each thing that you're supposed to do each day. And then you have all of the information that you guys are going to need, like I said, for player stats in order to choose the fantasy team that you're going to be choosing. Once again, if you have any questions, you guys need to email me, okay? Because like I said, we're going to continue working on this throughout the week. And if you're confused right at the beginning of the week, it's just going to continue to get more confusing. So I need you to ask questions immediately. All right? And if another thing that you can do is you can look online. What does QB stand for in football? Okay? If you look up what does QB stand for in football, Google will tell you right then and there it stands for quarterback. All right? So you guys are going to be completely fine. This is going to be a really fun activity for us to do that has just a little bit of math involved with it. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching this video.